This is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service, and we're going to do a tutorial here on CT Tan Bench Hopper. This is what it looks like when it's done. So the hook is Mustad C53 number 6. The thread is Danville Flymaster 140D in brown. The wing is natural deer hair from the woods of Pennsylvania. Excuse me. The body is variegated medium chenille in light olive and brown from Hareline. The legs are yellow Grizzly round rubber medium from Hareline. The overbody is tan craft foam 2mm thick, and you get this stuff at Walmart, Amazon, Hobby Lobby, whatever craft store. So the underbody is yellow Grizzly saddle hackle. This is from Ewing, and I'm putting a little flash in it. This is Hareline's Krystal Flash in Rootbeer. Excuse me. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to mount my Mustad C53 in my vise, and I'm going to mount it not parallel to my desk. It's up a little bit, and that reason will become clearer when it's time to complete the fly. You got to give yourself an angle on the eye in order to get it tied off. So you're going to get tied in, and you're going to run you a thread base. And then come back up to about even with the hook point. Let me see if I can't put a little more light on this. All right, now you got your foam. Your foam, when you cut it up initially, you're going to cut it up into strips that are 6 inches long and 5/16 inches wide. And then before you get it tied in, you're going to trim a 1/2 inch off, and then you're going to put points at either end. So it looks like this. And then you're going to tie this in. You're going to attach it on top at about a gap width hanging off the back. You just want to tie it in so it's snug. Then take a couple wraps to make sure that it stays in place. And I use a little bit of UV resin in here. Not a lot. Just enough that it's not going to go anywhere. Then I'm going to take my I got one feather, and I'm just going to skin the fibers back a little bit right up towards the tip. I don't want to straighten this out like I would for a woolly booger. I want my feather to be at about a 45-degree angle to the hook shank. And then I got my variegated chenille. I'm going to skin some of those fibers off to expose the core thread and get that tied in. And I'm going to stop my thread about 1.5 times the width of the eye. Swing my bobbin cradle over, then wrap my chenille on. You're going to get 7 or 8 wraps. And again, you're stopping where your thread stopped, about 1.5 times the gap, or times the width of the eye. Couple half hitches. Now, this is why you don't spread your hackle fibers out on a, if you're palmering hackle, you want to do that like you do on a woolly booger, but this is not palmered. This is more like a dry, where it's right in front of the other. You want to get them very close together. Be careful that your feather doesn't twist on you. Yeah, that one's trying to twist. There we go. I'm going to back up a little bit. Now you're going to stack them up right in front of each other, right up towards the front. See how I'm pulling a little tension on the feather with my hackle pliers. And I'm going to stroke those fibers back, and I nick my thread. So this is where you got to recover. And that's how you recover. Happens to everybody. I've been doing this 40 couple years and I still nick my thread sometimes. Get a weak spot or and you just give him a haircut there. You don't have to use barber scissors, but I like them because the blades are long. Bring your foam over, hold it in place. There, that's not going anywhere. And then I'm going to put a little, just a little, let that soak down in there. Now that's really not going anywhere. All right, next is your deer hair. Now, I do not recommend you using your standard tying scissors to cut deer hair. I get these little spring-loaded suckers at a surplus store, and they work great. They're cheap too. I think they're 50 cents a pair. They're very sharp and they're very rugged. To use your regular tying scissors, hair is really coarse and it'll dull your scissors really quickly. Or really quick, I guess is the correct term. Now, after you trim that off, you're just going to pull the shorties out. Maybe pull a couple of long ones off, because you're going to put this in a hair stacker after you comb the fuzz out. I get this little mustache comb. Then you're going to measure this. Well, take it back. You're going to stack it. So put it in my little hair stacker. I've had this thing for 40 some years. It actually came from India. I don't remember where I bought it. I think I bought it at Uncle Joe's Woodshed in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Give it a couple taps. And that lines the tips up. Typically, those must have been stuck together pretty good. Yeah, there was something on it. All right, let's try again. Give me a second, I'm going to clean this. Okay, so if you're wondering how I cleaned that, I just got a Q-tip and I got some lens cleaners like Windex. And I sprayed it on my Q-tip and then I swished it around on the inside of this and got some of the crap out of it. So we're going to try this again. You're going to want to get a clump a little narrower than a pencil. Trim it off the hide. Then get your really long ones out of there. Get that fuzz out of there. You're going to drop this into your stacker. And then tap away. So you can see I got the hair on my stacker. All right. and you pull your stacker apart, and you should have your tips sticking out. You see that? You're just going to pull the tips out. Sometimes some of the hairs don't want to cooperate, so you just got to kind of pull them out. Sometimes you end up having short ones in there anyway. Now that your tips are lined up, you want to just line that up so that the hair almost reaches the tip. You're going to cut that. Then just like you would on a hair wing caddis, you're going to take a couple of wraps around the hair to keep it in a bunch, and then lay it down over the tie-in point, and then just give it a little tug. You want to keep wrapping and tugging until it feels tight. Now your flash. You want 4 strands of Krystal Flash, and be mindful when you pull these out. Sometimes you get one that's a little shorter than the rest. They're supposed to be really long. Like these. But sometimes you end up getting one that's a couple inches shorter somehow. And I don't throw those away. I collect them up and save them because, you know, I'm likely going to use them on something else. Even up your tips. Make sure you're not short. And you're going to take that in half. And you're going to lay it against your body. And it should be about the same length of your hair, maybe a little longer. Then just bring this up, and it's going to be even good. Then you're going to put the flash on the thread, hold it with your thumb and index finger, and work it into the top of the hair. And you're going to check that against the hair. I got a feeling it's too long. Yep, just a hair too long. Okay, now it doesn't need to be that exact. I'm just, you know, kind of like that. Then I'm going to take some more. And I'm using this UV resin I'm using is straight up Solar Res Bone Dry, thin. I like it for its penetration. It's kind of like 3-in-1 oil. It, you know, it gets down into the fibers real well. I mean, you don't got to cake it on there, but you want to make sure that you touch everything. And you're holding this in position when you hit it with the light. So if you don't do that, the wing is going to splay out and you're going to lose some of your buoyancy. Now you're going to fold the wing back, and the tip of the wing should essentially line up with the tie-in point on the tail. See how the tip of the wing, the over wing, is lined up with the tie-in point of the tail. Be able to see that a little better now. Now I'm going to take a couple of security wraps. I'm going to check my foam again where my eye is, and I'm just going to snug that down. Get it in position where I want it. Now I'm going to roll it over towards me. Now it's time for legs. So I got my Hareline medium yellow Grizzly legs. And I like to trim those ends off so that you got black starting out first. Just even them up. Put them in half. Then even them up again. And put them in half. Now you can set, here's one set of legs for your next fly. Here's a set of legs that you're going to use. You want your legs to be just a little less than lined up with that tie-in point in the back. Take a couple of soft wraps to make sure you got everything where you want it. And you can snug it down. Then you're going to bring the other legs around the front. Even them up because you're going to want to try to shrink on you. And they should be in about the same place. Take a couple of soft wraps. Make sure everything is where you want it. Snug it down good. All right. Now this is why you want the front of your hook pointed up. You're going to pull back on this, and you're going to bring your thread up into that crease. This is flat thread, so I'm going to spin it so it gets tight. Pull back on that. Get 5. Now I'm going to get 3 more. 5 and 3 whip. Snip these here. Now my legs are where I want them, essentially. And I'm going to paint that with UV resin underneath. Now, if you don't have your legs right where you want them, when you're hitting this with a light, you can pull them into where you want them. And there you have it. CT tan bench hopper. Hope this tutorial was helpful. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can see this and other cool bugs on my website at www.custom-tide.com. That's CUSTOM-TIED.com. Have a splash. Don't forget the dash. Happy tying.